She opened the wrong door and walked straight into the arms of Manhattan's most dangerous man. What started as a drunken mistake on the worst night of her life became something no one could have predicted. Not the betrayal that shattered her heart, not the storm raging outside, and definitely not the cold-eyed stranger who should have destroyed her but chose protection instead. One wrong turn, one stolen night, and a mafia boss who doesn't let anyone go. Stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels. The rain hit Manhattan like punishment. Lena Hart stumbled through the lobby of the Crimson Tower, mascara streaking down her face, her dress clinging to her body from the downpour. She could barely see straight. The champagne she'd stolen from the engagement party, someone else's engagement party, because apparently her boyfriend had been planning one too, just not with her, sloshed in her mostly empty stomach. 3 years. 3 years she'd given Marcus, and he'd spent the last 6 months screwing his coworker while Lena worked late on design projects to help pay for their rent. She'd found out tonight when she'd shown up early to surprise him at the office party. Surprise. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime that felt too cheerful for the moment. Lena stepped inside, squinting at the panel. Marcus's friend James had given her a key card to crash in his suite for the night. He was out of town, felt bad for her, the usual pity routine. 23rd floor, he'd said. Or was it 25th? She jabbed the button for 25. Close enough. The elevator climbed while Lena's stomach dropped. She'd left everything. Her keys were in Marcus's apartment. Her dignity was somewhere on the floor of that conference room where she'd watched him kiss someone else against the window. Her self-respect had probably checked out 6 months ago when she'd ignored the late nights and the distant looks. The doors opened. She stepped into the hallway, which was too quiet, too elegant. The carpet was thicker here. The sconces were actual crystal. James was a junior analyst. This didn't match his pay grade, but Lena's brain was too soaked in alcohol and heartbreak to process the warning signs. She found Suite 2507 and pressed the keycard against the lock. Green light. Click. Thank God. She pushed inside, letting the door fall shut behind her, and immediately kicked off her heels. The suite was dark, except for the city lights filtering through floor-to-ceiling windows. She could see the outline of expensive furniture, the kind of space that cost more per night than she made in a month. Lena dropped her purse on the entry table and wandered toward what she assumed was the bedroom, peeling off her soaked cardigan. All she wanted was to fall into bed and let unconsciousness erase the last 4 hours. She found the bedroom, found the bed, didn't bother turning on the lights. She collapsed face first onto the mattress with a sound that was half sob, half groan. The sheets smelled incredible, expensive, like cedar, and something darker she couldn't name. James definitely had better taste than she'd given him credit for. Or maybe hotel suites at this level just came with premium everything. Lena rolled onto her back, staring at the dark ceiling. "You're a goddamn idiot," she whispered to herself. Not Marcus, her. For believing it would last, for thinking she was enough. She closed her eyes. Sleep didn't come, but the room started spinning in a way that suggested she'd be regretting the champagne in about 4 hours. She lay there, suspended in that awful space between drunk and devastated, where everything hurt but nothing felt real. That's when she heard it. Water running. A shower. Lena's eyes snapped open. Her brain, sluggish and soaked in alcohol, tried to make sense of the sound. James was supposed to be in Chicago. He'd said so. He'd given her the keycard specifically because he wouldn't be here. Maybe he'd come back early? She should probably leave, or at least announce herself. Something. But her body felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds, and her pride was already in pieces on the floor. What was one more humiliation? She'd just apologize, grab her shoes, and find literally anywhere else to sleep. A bench, the subway, a dumpster, the water shut off. Lena sat up slowly, trying to organize her thoughts into something resembling a plan. She'd say sorry. She'd explain about the keycard. She'd leave. Simple. The bathroom door opened. A man stepped out, backlit by the bathroom light, wearing nothing but a towel around his waist. And Lena's alcohol-soaked brain registered 3 things in rapid succession. 1, this was definitely not James. 2, this man was built like violence, and money had a child and raised it on pure intimidation. 3, She was absolutely in the wrong room. "Who the hell are you?" His voice was low, controlled, and colder than the rain outside. Lena's mouth opened. Nothing came out. He didn't move towards her, but his posture shifted, weight forward, ready. Even half naked and dripping wet, he looked like a threat. Dark hair slicked back, sharp features that would have been handsome if they weren't arranged in an expression of lethal calculation, and eyes that caught the city light and turned it into something predatory. "I asked you a question." He took a step forward. Lena scrambled backward on the bed, words finally unsticking from her throat. I'm sorry. Wrong room. I have a key card, I thought. My friend said 23 or maybe 25, and She was babbling. She could hear herself babbling and couldn't stop. The man's eyes narrowed. "How did you get in here?" "The key card worked. I didn't break in, I swear, She held up her hands like that would prove her innocence. "I had the worst night, and I wasn't paying attention, and stand up." It wasn't a request. Lena stood on shaking legs. The room tilted slightly. She grabbed the bedpost for balance. The man watched her with the kind of focus that suggested he was cataloging everything. Her smudged makeup, her wet dress, the way she swayed on her feet, deciding if she was a threat or just pathetic. Probably pathetic, Lena thought miserably. "What's your name?" he asked. Lena Hart. I'm really sorry. I'll just go." She moved toward where she thought she'd dropped her shoes, but the room's geography had gotten confused somewhere between the champagne and the panic. "Stop moving." She froze. He walked past her, giving her a wide berth she noticed, and went to the nightstand, picked up his phone, made a call. "Vincent, suite's been compromised. No, she's..." He glanced at Lena, and his expression shifted into something that might have been amusement if it weren't so sharp. "She's drunk and claims she has a key card. Check the system, 2507. Silence while he listened. Lena wanted to melt into the floor. This was worse than finding Marcus. This was worse than anything. She'd broken into someone's room, someone who clearly had the kind of money that came with private security and phone calls to people named Vincent. "Interesting," the man said into the phone. He was looking at Lena again. "No, I'll handle it." He hung up. "Sit down before you fall down," he said. Lena sat. Not on the bed. She had enough sense left to know that would be weird, but on the chair near the window. Her legs felt like water. The man disappeared back into the bathroom, returned a minute later wearing black pants and a white shirt he didn't bother buttoning, like modesty was optional when you had that much presence. "Your friend," he said, leaning against the dresser, arms crossed. "James, junior analyst at Sterling and Cross?" Lena nodded. "He gave you a key card to suite 2307. You're in 2507. Oh God. 2 floors up," she whispered. "I hit the wrong button." Apparently. "I'm so sorry. I'll leave right now. She stood again, too fast. The room did a slow spin. She sat back down hard. The man was silent for a long moment. Then he walked to the minibar, pulled out a bottle of water and handed it to her. Lena stared at it. "Drink," he said, "before you make yourself sick on my carpet." She took the bottle with shaking hands and drank. The water was cold and helped clear some of the fog. Not much, but some. "How did you get past hotel security looking like that?" he asked. Lena glanced down at herself. Right. Soaked dress, ruined makeup, no shoes. She looked like she'd crawled out of a river. "I think they felt sorry for me," she admitted. Why? The question was too direct to dodge. And maybe it was the alcohol, or the fact that this night couldn't possibly get worse, but Lena answered honestly. "Caught my boyfriend cheating. Showed up to what I thought was his office party. Turned out to be his engagement party." She laughed, sharp and bitter. "To someone else." The man's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Not sympathy, more like recognition. "So you got drunk and broke into a stranger's hotel room," he said. "I didn't break in. The keycard worked." "Because you hit the wrong floor." "Yes." "After getting drunk at your ex-boyfriend's engagement party." I didn't know it was." Lena pressed her palms against her eyes. "Can we just skip to the part where you call security and have me arrested? I'm too tired for the recap." "I'm not calling security." She looked up. "What?" The man pushed off the dresser and walked to the window, looking out at the storm. Rain lashed against the glass in sheets. It's past midnight. The storm's not stopping anytime soon, and you're in no condition to go anywhere. Lena's brain struggled to process this. So, what? You're just going to let me stay? In the guest room. He turned back to face her. You sleep it off. In the morning you leave. We forget this happened. This had to be a trick or a hallucination. Men who looked like walking danger didn't just offer drunk strangers a place to sleep. Why? She asked. His jaw tightened. For the first time, he looked away. Because I've had nights like yours. Different circumstances. Same feeling. The honesty surprised her more than anything else he'd done. I don't even know your name, Lena said quietly. He met her eyes again, held them, and she realized his weren't just dark. They were the color of smoke, gray with shadows in them. Dante, he said finally. Dante Moretti. The name tickled something in the back of her mind, but the champagne had turned her memory into Swiss cheese. Thank you, Dante, she said, for not, having me arrested or murdered. His mouth twitched. It might have been a smile. The night's young. He showed her to the guest room, which was nicer than her entire apartment, and pointed out the bathroom, the towels, the robe hanging on the door. Lock the door if it makes you feel safer, he said. I'll be in the living room if you need anything. Lena nodded, suddenly exhausted down to her bones. Dante turned to leave, then paused at the doorway. Lena. Yeah? Whatever he did, whoever he chose, that's about him, not you. The words hit harder than they should have. She nodded, not trusting herself to speak. He left, closing the door quietly behind him. Lena stood there for a moment, dripping on the expensive carpet, trying to figure out what the hell had just happened. Then she peeled off her wet dress, took the fastest shower of her life, and crawled into the guest bed wearing the hotel robe. The sheets still smelled like cedar. She was asleep in minutes. Lena woke to splitting pain behind her eyes and sunlight cutting through the curtains like a weapon. Hangover. Right. She groaned and rolled over, then froze as the previous night came flooding back in pieces. The party. Marcus, the wrong room, the man in the towel. Dante. She sat up slowly, taking stock. Guest room. Still wearing the robe. Clothes nowhere in sight. This was fine. Everything was fine. Except the part where she'd drunkenly broken into a stranger's hotel suite, and he'd been weirdly decent about it. Lena found her dress hanging in the bathroom, mostly dry. Someone had clearly moved it from wherever she'd dropped it. The thought of Dante handling her wet clothes made her want to crawl under the bed and die, but she forced herself to get dressed anyway. She looked like hell. Makeup smudged beyond repair, hair a disaster, dress wrinkled. But it would have to do. She opened the guest room door carefully. The suite's living room was empty. Quiet. Morning light poured through the massive windows, showing off the space she'd been too drunk to appreciate last night. This wasn't just a hotel suite. This was the kind of place that had actual art on the walls, furniture that belonged in a magazine, and a view of Central Park that probably cost more per night than her monthly rent. A note sat on the coffee table next to a glass of water and 2 aspirin. Take these. There's coffee in the kitchen. Leave whenever you're ready. Last night stays between us. Lena picked up the aspirin, studying the handwriting. Bold, clean, efficient, like the man himself. She took the pills, drank the water, and made her way to the kitchen where a full pot of coffee waited. Someone, Dante presumably, had set out a clean mug. This whole situation was surreal. She poured coffee, added cream from the mini-fridge, and stood at the window while she drank it. The storm had cleared. The city looked washed clean, all glass and steel gleaming in the morning sun. Somewhere down there, Marcus was probably waking up next to his new fiancée. And Lena was drinking coffee in a presidential suite with a stranger who'd shown her more kindness in one night than Marcus had in the last 6 months. The universe had a twisted sense of humor. She finished the coffee, rinsed the mug, and gathered her things. Her purse was still on the entry table where she'd dropped it. Her shoes were by the door, neatly arranged. Lena slipped them on, took one last look at the suite, and let herself out. She half expected to see Dante in the hallway, but it was empty except for a cleaning cart 3 doors down. The elevator ride down felt like descending from a fever dream back into regular life. By the time she hit the lobby, Lena had almost convinced herself last night hadn't happened. Just the champagne playing tricks. A grief hallucination. Except when she walked past the front desk, the concierge looked up and said, "Ms. Hart, Mr. Moretti wanted to ensure you made it home safely. Would you like us to call you a car?" So, not a hallucination. "No, thank you," Lena managed. "I'm fine." She wasn't fine, but she made it to the subway, made it to her friend Jessa's apartment in Brooklyn, and collapsed on the couch with the whole sorry story spilling out. "Wait," Jessa said, sitting up from where she'd been listening with increasing disbelief. "You broke into Dante Moretti's suite?" "I didn't break in. The keycard worked." "Lena, do you know who Dante Moretti is?" The way she said it made Lena's stomach drop. "Should I?" Jessa grabbed her laptop. 30 seconds of typing later, she turned the screen around. Lena read the headline, "Moretti Holdings expands Manhattan real estate empire. CEO Dante Moretti keeps low profile, despite billion-dollar portfolio." Below it, a photo. The same man from last night, but in a suit that probably cost more than her car, standing in front of a building Lena recognized. The Crimson Tower. "He owns the hotel," she whispered. "He owns half of Manhattan," Jessa corrected. "Hotels, restaurants, commercial real estate, and that's just the legitimate business." "What's the illegitimate business?" Jessa gave her a look. "No one knows for sure, but the Moretti family name comes with rumors, the kind that involve the words organized crime and don't ask questions." Lena's mouth went dry. "I slept in a mob boss's guest room." "You got drunk and passed out in a mob boss's guest room after breaking into his suite." "I didn't break in." Lena stopped, put her head in her hands. "Oh my God, I could have been killed." "But you weren't," Jessa pointed out. "He gave you aspirin and coffee and let you leave. That's actually kind of sweet for a possible crime lord." "Nothing about this is sweet. This is a disaster." "Or," Jessa said slowly, "it's the universe telling you that Marcus was a practice round and now you're in the big leagues. I'm never seeing him again. It was one weird night. That's it." Jessa looked skeptical but didn't push. Lena spent the rest of the weekend trying to forget. She deleted Marcus's number, blocked him on everything. Threw herself into work. She had 2 client presentations next week and a portfolio review coming up for a position she desperately needed. By Monday morning, the whole thing had faded into something that felt like someone else's story. She dressed in her best interview outfit, black slacks, cream blouse, hair pulled back, and took the subway into Manhattan. The design firm she was interviewing with, Levine and Associates, had a reputation for working with high-end commercial clients. Landing a position there would change everything. The offices were in Midtown, all clean lines and modern furniture. Lena checked in with the receptionist, who told her to wait. She sat in the lobby reviewing her portfolio one more time, trying to calm her nerves. "Miss Hart?" A woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and sharper heels appeared. "I'm Diana Levine. Thank you for coming in." Lena stood, shook her hand. "Thank you for the opportunity." Diana led her down a hallway to a conference room. "We're expanding our commercial division and looking for someone with fresh perspective. Your residential work is impressive, but we're curious to see how you translate that to larger-scale projects." "I'm excited to try," Lena said honestly. Diana smiled. "Good. We have one more partner joining us. He's the client for our latest project and wanted to be part of the interview process." "Ah, here he is." The conference room door opened. Lena turned, and every word she'd prepared evaporated as Dante Moretti walked into the room wearing a charcoal suit and an expression of mild surprise that matched her own shock. "Ms. Hart," he said smoothly, like they'd never met, like she hadn't passed out in his guest bed 72 hours ago. "Thank you for meeting with us." Diana looked between them. "You two know each other?" "We've crossed paths," Dante said before Lena could speak. His eyes stayed on hers. Briefly, Lena's brain scrambled to catch up. This was the client? He was going to be in the interview? "Wonderful," Diana said, oblivious to the undercurrent. "Dante's invested in our firm's expansion and has a project that needs the right creative eye. Shall we begin?" Lena nodded, not trusting her voice. They sat. Diana pulled up the project brief on the screen, a full redesign of a presidential suite in a luxury hotel. The presidential suite at the Crimson Tower. Of course it was. We want someone who understands luxury but isn't afraid to challenge conventions, Dante said, his voice professional, controlled. Someone who can see potential where others see limitations. Was he talking about the suite or about her? Lena forced herself to focus, to be professional. This was her shot. She couldn't blow it just because the client had seen her at her worst. I'd approach it as a story, she said, finding her footing. Every space tells one. Right now, hotel suites tend to tell the same story. Generic luxury, impersonal comfort. But a presidential suite should feel like a secret, something curated, intentional, a space that reveals itself slowly. Dante leaned back in his chair, watching her. Go on. Layers, Lena continued, warming to the subject. Texture, light, pieces that have history. Not just expensive, meaningful. A room that feels like it's been waiting for you specifically. How would you start? Diana asked. By understanding who uses the space, what they need from it, what they're running from or toward. Lena met Dante's eyes. Sometimes people need a space that feels like protection. Sometimes they need one that feels like possibility. Something flickered across his expression. Too fast to name. The interview continued for another 30 minutes. Lena presented her portfolio, answered questions about timelines and budgets and creative process. Diana seemed impressed. Dante stayed mostly quiet, asking occasional questions that felt like tests. Finally, Diana stood. Thank you, Ms. Hart. We have 2 more candidates to meet with, but we'll be in touch by end of week. Lena shook her hand, gathered her things. Dante walked them to the door. I'll see you out, he told Diana. I want to discuss the timeline. Diana nodded and headed back down the hall, leaving Lena and Dante alone in the corridor. You could have warned me, Lena said quietly. How? You left before I woke up. His voice was even, but his eyes had that sharp focus again. And you didn't leave a number. I didn't think I'd need to. You said we'd forget it happened. I meant I wouldn't tell anyone you broke into my room. I didn't say I'd forget you. The words hung between them. 2 waited for a hallway conversation. Mr. Moretti. Dante. This is a professional situation. We can't. I know. He stepped closer, not invading her space, but close enough that she could smell cedar again. That's why I stayed quiet. Diana doesn't know about that night. No one does. This is a legitimate interview for a real position. Then why are you here? Because it's my project, my hotel, my suite. His mouth curved slightly. And maybe because I was curious if you'd show up. Lena's heart was doing something complicated in her chest. I need this job. I know. So if this is some kind of game, it's not. Dante's voice went serious. You're talented. Your portfolio proves it. What happened last weekend has nothing to do with whether you're right for this project. Then what does it have to do with? He was quiet for a moment. Then, I don't know yet. Honest, dangerous, too much. Lena took a step back. I should go. Lena. He waited until she looked at him. If we hire you, I'll be professional. I promise. And if you don't hire me? Then I'll still be professional. His eyes held hers. But I'll regret it. She left before she could do something stupid like believe him. Patouin. The call came Thursday afternoon. Ms. Hart, this is Diana Levine. I'm pleased to offer you the position. When can you start? Lena's apartment was too small for the amount of screaming she wanted to do. She settled for texting Jessa. I got it. The response came back immediately. The hotel job? Yes, with the mystery man? His name is Dante, and yes, you're going to sleep with him. I am not you absolutely are. Lena threw her phone on the couch. She wasn't going to sleep with her client. This was professional. She was professional. The fact that she could still remember exactly how he looked standing in that towel was irrelevant. She started Monday. The Levine and Associates offices buzzed with the kind of controlled chaos that came with multiple high-end projects running simultaneously. Diana set her up with a workspace, a real desk, not a shared table, and introduced her to the team. Dante wants to meet this afternoon, Diana said. Walk through the suite, discuss vision. I'll send you the access codes. He'll be there? Lena tried to sound casual. It's his hotel. He's very involved in the details. Diana smiled. Don't worry. He's demanding but fair, and he clearly respects your work. Lena spent the morning reviewing the existing suite plans, making notes, sketching ideas. By the time 2 o'clock rolled around, she'd convinced herself she could handle this. She was wrong. The moment she stepped into suite 2507, the same suite she'd stumbled into drunk and heartbroken, every professional intention she'd had scattered like leaves. Dante was standing at the window, phone to his ear, speaking in rapid Italian. He turned when she entered, held up one finger. "Wait." Lena waited, looked around. The space was elegant but cold in daylight, beautiful in the way expensive things often were, impressive but distant. No personality, no warmth. She could fix that. Dante ended his call. "You're on time." "You sound surprised." "Most people aren't." He pocketed his phone. "What do you think?" Lena walked slowly through the space, running her hand along the back of the sofa, studying the light, the bones of the room. "It's beautiful, but it doesn't feel like anyone lives here." "No one does. It's a hotel. People stay here, though. They sleep here, work here, maybe fall apart here." She glanced at him. "It should feel like it knows that." His expression shifted. "What would you change?" "Everything." She pulled out her tablet, showing him the sketches she'd started. Warmer tones, layered textures, fewer hard edges, pieces with stories, vintage finds mixed with custom work. "I want someone to walk in and feel like they've been let into a secret." Dante moved closer to see the screen, close enough that she could feel the heat of him. "Show me." So she did. Walked him through her vision, the reading nook by the window, the bar area with hand-blown glass, the bedroom that would feel like sanctuary. She talked about light and shadow, about creating spaces within spaces. And Dante listened, really listened, asked questions that made her think harder, push further. "The bathroom," he said, pointing to her sketch. "That's not standard." "No, but it's better." She'd designed a wet room with a rainfall shower and a vintage clawfoot tub positioned to face the windows. Most people don't use hotel bathtubs because they feel impersonal. This one's different. It's an experience. Expensive experience. "You own half of Manhattan. I think you can afford the tub." His mouth twitched. "Fair point." They spent 2 hours going over details. Dante had opinions, strong ones, but he wasn't dismissive. When Lena pushed back on his suggestion to keep the existing lighting, he listened to her argument and conceded. "You're stubborn," he observed. "You hired me for my vision, not my compliance." "I hired you because you understand that spaces are emotional, not just functional." The honesty surprised her. "Is that why you wanted someone new, instead of using your usual designers?" Dante was quiet for a moment, looking around the suite. "This room has history for me. I wanted someone who could see it fresh, without assumptions." Lena thought about the night they'd met, about finding him here, in this space. What kind of history? The complicated kind. He met her eyes. Not ready to share that story yet. Yet, like there was a future where he might. "Fair enough," Lena said. "I've got complicated history with this room too." "I remember." Of course he did. They finished the walkthrough. Dante approved her preliminary budget, barely glanced at the numbers actually, which suggested either complete trust or complete indifference to cost. "How long?" he asked as they headed toward the door. 8 weeks if everything goes smoothly, 10 if we hit complications." "Make it 8. I have an event here in November. I want it done." "That's 3 months away." "I'm aware." He held the door open for her. "You said you could do it." "I said 8 weeks if everything goes smoothly. Things never go smoothly." "Then make them." His voice was calm but inflexible. "I have faith in you." Lena wanted to argue, but the challenge in his eyes stopped her. He was testing her again, seeing if she'd buckle under pressure. 8 weeks, she agreed, but I'll need direct access to you for approvals. No waiting 3 days for your assistant to forward emails. "Done. Give me your number." She recited it, watched him save it in his phone. "Don't abuse this," she warned. "I never abuse anything I value." The way he said it made her stomach flip. Lena left before she could analyze that too closely. The next 6 weeks blurred into controlled chaos. Lena threw herself into the project with single-minded focus. She met with fabricators, hunted vintage pieces in Brooklyn warehouses, argued with contractors about timelines. Diana gave her surprising freedom, and Dante, true to his word, responded to her messages within hours, approved changes without micromanaging. But their interactions stayed carefully professional. Brief texts about tile samples, quick calls about furniture delivery. A couple of in-person meetings where they discussed progress with Diana present. Nothing personal, nothing that referenced the night they'd met. Lena told herself she was relieved. She was lying, because every time her phone buzzed with a message from Dante, her heart did something stupid. And every time she stood in that suite, she remembered how he'd looked at her, not with pity, but with something close to understanding. "You're thinking about him," Jessa announced one Friday night over wine. "I'm thinking about grout color." "Liar," Lena sighed. "It doesn't matter, this is professional. He gave you his personal number. For work purposes. He watches you when you're in the room. Vanessa from accounting told me. She saw you two at a site meeting last week." Vanessa from accounting needs a hobby. Jessa leaned forward. "Do you like him?" "I don't know him." "That's not an answer." Lena stared into her wine. "He's dangerous. Or he's damaged. There's a difference. Either way, it's a bad idea. The best ones usually are." By week 7, the suite was nearly finished. The transformation was stunning. Lena knew it without ego. She'd turned cold elegance into warm sophistication, created spaces that invited you to stay, to breathe, to feel safe. The vintage tub had arrived from an estate sale in Connecticut, the custom bar from a craftsman in Red Hook. The bedroom now had blackout curtains and charcoal velvet, and a reading chair positioned perfectly for morning light. It looked like a home, a beautiful, expensive, carefully curated home. Dante came to see it on a Tuesday evening. Lena was alone in the suite, arranging books on the shelves she'd installed. She'd bought first editions, old poetry collections, novels with broken spines, books that had been loved. She heard the door open, turned. Dante stood in the entryway, perfectly still. "Well," she asked, suddenly nervous. "What do you think?" He didn't answer immediately, just walked slowly through the space, taking it in, ran his hand along the bar, studied the tub, stood at the window where she'd positioned a leather chair. Lena waited, barely breathing. Finally, he turned to face her. "It's perfect." The relief hit hard. "Yeah? You made it feel—" He stopped, started again. "I've been in this room 1,000 times. I've never wanted to stay before." Something in his voice made her chest tight. "That was the goal," she said quietly. Dante crossed to where she stood by the bookshelf, picked up one of the volumes she'd chosen, Neruda, the spine worn soft. "You read Spanish?" he asked. "No, but I liked the way it felt in my hands. Old things have weight." He set the book down carefully. "You see things other people miss. Or I'm just good at faking it." "You don't fake anything." His eyes found hers. "It's one of the things He stopped. "One of the things that makes you good at this." What had he almost said? Lena didn't ask. "There's still punch list items," she said, retreating to safer ground. "Final walkthrough next week. Diana wants to schedule the photography for— Have dinner with me." The words landed like a door slamming. Lena stared at him. "What?" "Dinner. Tomorrow night, to celebrate the project." "That's not— We can't— Why not?" "Because you're the client. Because this is professional. Because you're scared," Dante finished. "I'm not scared." "Then have dinner with me." Her heart was pounding. "This is a terrible idea." "Probably." He didn't move closer, but his focus was absolute. "But I'm asking anyway." Lena should say no. Every rational part of her brain was screaming it. "One dinner," she heard herself say. "That's it?" His smile was slow and devastating. "One dinner," he agreed, and Lena realized, far too late, that she'd just made a mistake she couldn't take back. Lena changed outfits 4 times before settling on a black dress that looked effortless but had cost her 2 weeks of grocery money. She told herself it was just dinner, a professional celebration. Nothing more. Jessa, sprawled on her bed watching the wardrobe crisis unfold, wasn't buying it. "You're wearing the good underwear," she observed. "I always wear good underwear. Those are from the set you bought for Marcus's birthday." The one you never gave him because you found out he was screwing Jennifer from marketing. Lena threw a shoe at her. Jessa dodged, laughing. I'm making a point, Lena said, that I've moved on, that I'm not some pathetic woman who falls apart over a cheating ex. By having dinner with a maybe mob boss? He's a real estate developer with rumored Mafia connections. Rumored, not confirmed. Lena checked her reflection one more time. The dress hit right above the knee, elegant without trying too hard. Her hair fell in loose waves that had taken 40 minutes and 3 YouTube tutorials to achieve. It's one dinner. Famous last words. The restaurant Dante had chosen was in the West Village, the kind of place without a sign on the door. Lena gave her name to the host, who led her through a dimly lit space filled with quiet conversation and the smell of fresh bread and wine. Dante was already there, standing when she approached. He wore a navy suit without a tie, the collar of his shirt open. He looked like money, and danger had reached a gentleman's agreement. You're early, Lena said. I'm always early. You're on time. He held her chair. I wasn't sure you'd show. I said I would. People say a lot of things. The waiter appeared with water and menus. Dante ordered wine in Italian, consulting her with a look. She nodded, not trusting herself to parse a wine list in her current state of nerves. When they were alone again, Dante leaned back in his chair, studying her. You're nervous. I'm not. Your left hand is fidgeting with your bracelet. You've done it 3 times since you sat down. Lena stilled her hand. Maybe I'm just particular about my jewelry. His mouth curved. Maybe. The wine arrived. Lena took a sip. It was excellent, smooth and dry, with notes of something she couldn't name. Probably cost more than her rent. So, she said, needing to break the silence, tell me about the event. The one in November. It's a gala, fundraiser for a local youth center. Dante swirled his wine, watching the legs run down the glass. We do it every year. High-profile donors, press, the usual circus. And you want it in the new suite? I want to show it off, prove that the Crimson Tower isn't just another luxury hotel. He met her eyes. That it has vision. No pressure. You can handle pressure. I've seen you argue with contractors twice your size about tile placement. Lena felt heat creep up her neck. You were watching that? I was passing by. You told the guy from Queens that his installation method was amateur hour, and if he didn't fix it, you'd find someone who graduated kindergarten. He was doing it wrong. He was terrified. Good. Fear motivates quality. Dante laughed. A real laugh, not the controlled version she'd heard before. The sound did something dangerous to her composure. The food arrived in courses, each one more beautiful than the last. They talked about the project, about design philosophy, about how spaces shaped behavior. Dante had opinions on architecture that surprised her. He understood how rooms made people feel, how light and proportion created emotion. You think about this a lot, Lena observed, cutting into perfectly cooked lamb. I collect buildings. I should understand what makes them work. He paused. My father used to say real estate was about location. He was wrong. It's about psychology. It was the first time he'd mentioned family. Lena filed it away, curious. What did your father do? She asked carefully. Dante's expression went neutral. Import-export, traditional family business. The way he said it suggested the conversation was closed. Lena let it drop. What about you? Dante asked. How does someone end up in interior design? My mom was an artist, painter mostly. She saw the world in color and composition. Lena smiled at the memory. She used to rearrange our apartment every 6 months. New layout, new energy. Drove my dad crazy, but I loved it. Watching her transform space with just furniture and light. She taught you. She died when I was 16. Cancer. The word still tasted bitter. But yeah, she taught me to see possibilities instead of limitations. Dante was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry. It was a long time ago. Lena took another sip of wine. What about your family? Any interior designers in the Moretti lineage? My mother liked beautiful things. She had excellent taste and terrible judgment in men. Past tense. Lena noted it but didn't push. My father, Dante continued, believed function was all that mattered. A room was a room, 4 walls and a purpose. You disagree. I think he missed the point of living. Dante's voice was careful, controlled. Survival isn't the same as life. There was weight in those words. History. Lena recognized the shape of old pain even if she couldn't see the details. Is that why you wanted the suite redesigned? She asked. To prove he was wrong? Dante met her eyes. Maybe I wanted to see if someone could take a room I'd been avoiding and turn it into something I couldn't stay away from. The air between them shifted, got thicker. Did it work? Lena asked quietly. You tell me. She should look away, make a joke, change the subject. Instead, she held his gaze and said, I think you're harder to read than any room I've designed. Good. I prefer it that way. Why? Because the moment someone can read you is the moment they can use you. Lena set down her wine glass. That's a lonely way to live. It's a safe way to live. Are those the same thing? Dante didn't answer, just watched her with those smoke-gray eyes that gave nothing away. The waiter cleared their plates, offered dessert. Dante ordered something chocolate without consulting the menu, and Lena realized he'd been here before, probably many times. This was his territory, his comfort zone. She was the variable. Can I ask you something? Lena said when they were alone again. You can ask. I might not answer. That night, the night I stumbled into your room, you could have thrown me out, had me arrested. Instead, you let me stay. She leaned forward slightly. Why? Dante was silent for a long moment. His fingers traced the stem of his wine glass, a rare tell of discomfort. I told you, he said finally. I recognized the feeling. What feeling? Being in the wrong place at the worst possible moment and needing someone to see you as human instead of a problem. The honesty caught her off guard. When did that happen to you? Long time ago. Different circumstances. He looked up and something in his expression had shifted, less guarded. I was 17. My father had just died. There were people at the funeral who'd pretended to be friends, but were really circling like vultures, waiting to see if I'd be weak. Were you? For about 10 minutes. Then I learned that weakness gets you killed in my world. Lena's chest tightened. That's a lot of pressure for a 17-year-old. I had good teachers. Most of them taught me what not to do. Dante's mouth twisted. But there was one man, my father's lawyer. He pulled me aside at the reception, told me I didn't have to pretend. That grief was human, not weakness. He gave me somewhere to go that night when I couldn't stand being in that house with all those fake mourners. He sounds kind. He was murdered 6 months later, wrong place, wrong time, caught in crossfire that had nothing to do with him. The words landed heavy. Lena reached across the table without thinking, covering his hand with hers. I'm sorry. Dante looked at their joined hands, didn't pull away. You remind me of him sometimes, the way you see people. How's that? Like we're more than the worst thing we've done. Lena's throat felt tight. Aren't we? I don't know yet. Dessert arrived. Molten chocolate cake with espresso ice cream. They shared it, the conversation shifting to lighter topics. Books they'd read, films they'd argued about with friends. Dante, it turned out, had terrible taste in movies. Action films with impossible physics and plots held together by duct tape and ego. You cannot seriously think that car chase was realistic, Lena said, laughing. I don't care if it's realistic. I care if it's entertaining. It was ridiculous. Entertainment often is. He stole the last bite of ice cream off her spoon. You're a snob. I have standards. Same thing. They argued about it all the way through coffee, and Lena realized she was enjoying herself, really enjoying herself. Not performing or pretending, just existing in the moment with someone who made her think and laugh and forget to be careful. Dangerous. When the check came, Dante didn't let her see it. Just handed over a black card and signed the receipt without looking at the total. Thank you for dinner, Lena said as they stepped outside. The village was alive with evening foot traffic, couples strolling past galleries, groups laughing outside bars. Thank you for coming. Dante's hand settled on the small of her back, guiding her away from a bike messenger who blew past too close. The touch was brief but electric. They walked in comfortable silence for a block. Then Dante said, Can I ask you something now? Fair's fair. That night, the boyfriend. Do you still think about him? Lena considered lying, decided against it. Sometimes, not because I miss him, because I'm angry at myself for not seeing it sooner. That's not your fault, isn't it? I ignored signs, convinced myself everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. People believe what they need to believe to survive. Dante stopped walking, turned to face her. He made a choice. He's the one who failed, not you. The words echoed what he'd said that first night. Lena wondered how many times he'd had to tell himself the same thing about different betrayals. Do you believe that? She asked. Or just say it. I'm working on believing it. Honest again. It was becoming a pattern. A car pulled up to the curb. Sleek, black, expensive. The driver got out, nodded at Dante. That's my ride, Dante said. Can I drop you somewhere? Lena should say no. Should take the subway back to Brooklyn like a normal person. Should put distance between herself and whatever this was becoming. Okay, she said instead. The car was exactly what she expected. Leather interior, tinted windows, the faint smell of expensive cologne. The driver knew where to go without being told, which meant Dante had planned this. Had known she'd say yes. The confidence should have annoyed her. Instead, it made her pulse quicken. They didn't talk during the drive. Just sat in charged silence while the city slid past outside. When they pulled up to Jessa's building in Brooklyn, Dante walked her to the door. I had a good time, Lena said, suddenly awkward, like she was 18 again and didn't know how dates ended. So did I. Dante stepped closer. Not touching, but close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. I want to see you again. We have the final walkthrough next week. I don't mean professionally. Her heart was doing that complicated thing again. Dante, I know all the reasons this is a bad idea, he said quietly. I've listed them, repeatedly. To myself, to my better judgment, to every rational thought I have. And I'm asking anyway. Lena should be smart, should protect herself, should remember that men like Dante Moretti came with complications she couldn't begin to untangle. One more dinner, she heard herself say. His smile was slow and certain. One more. He kissed her hand, old-fashioned, deliberate, and walked back to the car. Lena stood on the sidewalk watching the taillights disappear, her hand still warm where his lips had touched. She was in trouble. The final walkthrough happened on a Wednesday morning with Diana present, which meant Lena and Dante kept everything scrupulously professional. They reviewed punch list items, discussed the photography schedule, approved final invoices. Diana was thrilled. This is going to be the crown jewel of our portfolio. Lena, you've outdone yourself. Thank you. Lena tried not to look at Dante, who was leaning against the bar looking unfairly good in a charcoal suit. The gala's in 3 weeks, Diana continued. We'll have everything photographed before then. Lena, I'd like you at the event. Good networking opportunity, and you should see the space in action. Lena's stomach flipped. Of course. After Diana left, Dante crossed to where Lena stood reviewing her tablet. So I'll see you at the gala, he said. Apparently. Wear something that makes you feel powerful. I always do. His smile was brief but genuine. I know. The second dinner happened 3 days later at a small Italian place in Brooklyn that Dante claimed made the best ossobuco outside of Milan. They argued about art. Dante liked modernism, Lena preferred impressionism, and discovered they both had a weakness for old noir films. The third man, Dante said, stealing one of her muscles. Best ending in cinema. Casablanca. Predictable. Classic. Same thing. They were easier with each other now. The careful distance from the first dinner had dissolved into something more natural. Dante told her about a restaurant renovation he was planning in Tribeca. Lena confessed she'd started sketching ideas for her own design studio someday. You should do it, Dante said. Stop working for other people. I need experience first, credibility. You have talent. That's all the credibility you need. Says the man who inherited an empire. Dante's expression shifted. I inherited debt and enemies. The empire I built myself. The edge in his voice told her she'd hit something tender. I'm sorry, I didn't mean... It's fine. He forced his shoulders to relax. People make assumptions. It's easier than asking questions. Then I'm asking, what really happened when your father died? Dante was quiet for a long moment, staring at his wine. When he spoke, his voice was careful, controlled. My father was a complicated man. He built something powerful, but he also made enemies. When he died, those enemies thought they could take what he'd built. Dante met her eyes. I proved them wrong. How? By being more ruthless than they expected from a 17-year-old kid. The words hung between them. Lena should be scared, should recognize the warning signs. Instead, she just felt sad for the boy who'd had to become dangerous to survive. Do you regret it? She asked quietly. Regret what? Surviving? Becoming what you had to become. Dante's jaw tightened. Every day. But regret doesn't change the past. It just makes the present heavier. Lena reached across the table again, the gesture becoming familiar. You're not what people think you are. Yes, I am. I'm exactly that. He turned his hand over, lacing his fingers through hers. But maybe with you, I could be something else, too. The admission cost him. She could see it in the tension around his eyes. What do you want to be? She asked. I don't know yet. Someone who doesn't have to calculate risk every time he cares about something. That sounds exhausting. It is. They finished dinner and walked along the waterfront, the Manhattan skyline bright across the water. Dante told her about growing up in Little Italy, back when it still felt like a neighborhood. Lena talked about her mom's art studio, the smell of oil paints and turpentine that meant home. When Dante's car dropped her off that night, he walked her up again, stood closer this time. I want to kiss you, he said. Direct. No games. Lena's pulse jumped. That's probably a bad idea? Probably. We're still technically working together. The project's done. Invoices are filed. The gala is 3 weeks away. He stepped closer. Lena, if you don't want this, say so. I'll back off. We'll stay professional. And if I do want this, then stop listing reasons why we shouldn't. She kissed him. Or he kissed her. Later, she wouldn't be able to say who moved first. Just that suddenly his mouth was on hers, and his hand was in her hair, and she was pressed against her building's door, with her fingers twisted in his shirt. The kiss was nothing like she expected. Not smooth or practiced. Desperate. Like he'd been holding back for weeks and finally couldn't anymore. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. That was... He started. Yeah. I should go. Probably. He didn't move. Neither did she. Lena. His voice was rough. I'm trying to do this right. What does right look like? Not rushing, not scaring you off, not letting you think this is just physical. She pulled back enough to see his face. What is it? I don't know yet, but it matters. You matter. The honesty undid her. Come to the gala with me, Dante said. Not as my designer, as my date. That's very public. I know. People will talk. Let them. Lena should think about this, should consider the implications. Instead, she said, okay. His smile was worth every complication that would follow. The 3 weeks until the gala passed in a blur of final details and stolen moments. Dante took her to dinner twice more. Once at a rooftop restaurant where they watched the sunset, once at a hole-in-the-wall Thai place he claimed made the best curry in the city. He was right about the curry. They texted constantly. Stupid things, mostly. Photos of bad design choices spotted in the wild. Arguments about whether pineapple belonged on pizza. Once, very late at night, Dante sent her a message that just said, can't sleep, thinking about you. And Lena stared at her phone for 10 minutes, trying to formulate a response that didn't sound desperate. She settled on same and fell asleep smiling. Jessa watched the whole thing with increasing amusement. You're falling for him, she announced one Saturday morning over coffee. I barely know him. You know enough. And he's falling for you too. You don't know that. Lena, the man sends you photos of architectural crimes at 3 a.m. and calls them our running list of what not to do. He's gone. Maybe. Probably. Lena didn't let herself think about it too hard. The night of the gala, she wore a dress she'd found in a vintage shop in Soho. Emerald silk that made her skin glow and her curves dangerous. Jessa helped with her hair, pinning it up in a style that looked effortless but had taken 45 minutes. You look like you could break hearts, Jessa said, stepping back to admire her work. I'm just trying not to embarrass myself in front of Manhattan's elite. Please, you're going to walk in on Dante Moretti's arm. You've already won. Dante picked her up himself, no driver this time. He wore a tuxedo that should be illegal and looked at her like she'd stopped his heart. You're beautiful, he said, simple, direct. You clean up okay yourself. His laugh was quiet. Come on, let's go show off your work. The Crimson Tower lobby was transformed. Ice sculptures, champagne fountains, servers in crisp uniforms carrying trays of delicate appetizers. Lena recognized some of the guests from magazines. Old money, new money, people who shaped the city with phone calls and checkbooks. Dante's hand settled on the small of her back as they entered, a claiming gesture that didn't go unnoticed. You're sure about this? Lena whispered. Going public? Completely. The suite looked perfect. Lena's design had been photographed beautifully, each detail showcased. Guests circulated through, admiring the transformation, and more than one person asked for her card. Diana found her within the first hour, beaming. You're the star of the night. 3 potential clients already. The space sells itself. The space is gorgeous because you understood what it needed to be. Diana squeezed her arm. You're going to have quite a career, Lena Hart. Dante stayed close but not suffocating, introducing her to people who mattered, making it clear without words that she wasn't just the designer. She was with him. Around 10, a man approached. Older, expensive suit, cold eyes. He looked at Lena the way someone might assess furniture. Dante. Interesting choice in companions. Dante's entire demeanor changed. The easy warmth vanished, replaced by something sharp and dangerous. Careful, Richard, he said quietly. Just observing. She's a bit young for you, isn't she? And that dress... Richard's eyes traveled deliberately over Lena in a way that made her skin crawl. Very accessible. Lena opened her mouth to respond, but Dante moved first. He stepped between them, blocking Richard's view of her entirely. When he spoke, his voice was soft, lethal. You're going to apologize to her. Then you're going to walk away. And if you ever speak about her, or to her, like that again, I will make sure every business deal you have in this city dies overnight. Are we clear? Richard's face went pale. Dante, I didn't mean apologize. I'm sorry, Miss Hart, Lena supplied, her voice steadier than she felt. Miss Hart, I apologize. Dante didn't move. Now leave. Richard left. The whole exchange had taken maybe 30 seconds, but Lena felt like she'd witnessed something fundamental shift. This was the man people whispered about, the one who built empires and crushed threats with terrifying calm. Dante turned back to her, his expression smoothing. Are you okay? I've handled worse. You shouldn't have to handle that at all. His hand found hers. Come on, let's get some air. They slipped out onto the private balcony attached to the suite. The city sprawled below them, endless lights against dark sky. I'm sorry, Dante said after a moment. For what? You defended me. For bringing you into this. For exposing you to men like Richard. Lena turned to face him. I chose to come tonight. I chose to be here with you. Lena, no. Listen. She stepped closer. I know what people think about you. I've heard the rumors, and maybe some of them are true. But you've never been anything but honest with me. You've never made me feel small or used or stupid. So whatever happened back there, that wasn't about you. That was about him being an asshole. Dante's eyes searched hers. You're not scared? Of you? No. You should be. You, why? Because you protect people you care about? Because you don't let men treat women like objects? She touched his face. That doesn't scare me. That makes me trust you more. He caught her hand, pressed a kiss to her palm. You're too good for this world. I'm exactly right for it, and maybe for you too. The kiss was slower this time, deliberate. His hands framed her face like she was something precious, and Lena felt herself falling into it completely. When they broke apart, Dante's phone was buzzing. He glanced at it, frowned. I have to take this. Business. 2 minutes. I'll wait here. He disappeared inside. Lena stayed on the balcony, breathing in the cold November air, trying to process everything. The gala, The confrontation, the kiss, the way Dante looked at her like she mattered more than anything else in the room. She was in deep, past the point of protecting herself. And for the first time in months, maybe years, she didn't care. Dante didn't come back in 2 minutes. Lena waited on the balcony, watching the party continue inside through the glass. Guests mingled, laughed, sipped champagne from crystal flutes. Diana was deep in conversation with a woman Lena recognized from a design magazine. Everything looked perfect from the outside. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Lena's phone buzzed, a text from Dante. Something came up. Vincent will take you home. I'm sorry. She stared at the message, feeling something cold settle in her chest. No explanation, no estimated time. Just an apology and a driver. She could go back inside. Network. Make use of the opportunities Diana had mentioned. But the thought of walking back into that room alone, of people asking where Dante went, made her stomach turn. Lena gathered her coat and took the elevator down. Vincent was already waiting at the curb, the black car idling. He opened the door without a word, his face professionally blank. The drive back to Brooklyn was silent. Lena kept checking her phone. No follow-up message, no call. By the time she got home, the cold feeling had spread. She told herself she was overreacting. Business emergencies happened. Dante ran an empire. Of course, things came up, but he'd left without a word, without even coming back to the balcony to tell her himself. Jessa was still up, watching TV in pajamas. She took one look at Lena's face and muted the sound. What happened? Nothing. Everything was fine, and then he got a call and disappeared. Lena kicked off her heels. Sent his driver to take me home. Did he say why? Just that something came up. Lena sank onto the couch. I'm being stupid, right? This is normal. People have emergencies. Jessa's expression was careful. It's normal for emergencies to happen. It's less normal to send someone home without explanation when you brought them as your date. Maybe it was serious. Maybe he couldn't. Lena. Jessa took her hand. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm saying you deserve better than being left on a balcony wondering what you did wrong. I don't think I did anything wrong. Then why are you making excuses for him? Lena didn't have an answer for that. She changed out of the emerald dress, scrubbed off her makeup, and tried to sleep. Her phone stayed silent. By morning, she'd convinced herself it was fine, a one-time thing. Dante would explain when he called. He didn't call. 3 days passed. No messages, no explanation, just silence where there'd been constant contact before. Lena told herself not to reach out first, that if he wanted to talk, he would, that she wasn't going to chase someone who'd made her feel like she mattered, and then vanished. On the 4th day, Diana called. Lena, I have exciting news. We're being featured in Metropolitan Design next month. They want to interview you about the Crimson Tower suite. That's amazing. There's more. I got a call from a developer in Chicago. He saw the gala photos online and wants to discuss a hotel redesign, potentially a whole chain. Diana's voice pitched higher with excitement. This could be huge for you. Chicago? I know it's far, but the opportunity, Lena, this is the kind of project that makes careers. I think you should take the meeting. Lena's brain struggled to keep up. When? Next week. He's flying you out, putting you up at his flagship property. First-class treatment. Diana paused. I already told him you'd come. Was that presumptuous? No, it's great, thank you. After she hung up, Lena sat staring at her phone. A major opportunity. Exactly what she'd been working toward. So why did it feel like running away? Her phone buzzed. Finally. But it wasn't Dante. It was Vincent. Mr. Moretti requests a meeting tomorrow, 2 p.m., Crimson Tower. Not a call, not even a message from Dante himself. A summons delivered through his driver. Lena's jaw tightened. She typed back, I'll be there. She showed up at 1:55 wearing her armor, black pants, white blouse, hair pulled back severe, professional, untouchable. The suite looked exactly as she'd left it, beautiful, empty. Dante was standing at the window when she arrived, his back to the door. He didn't turn immediately. Thank you for coming, he said. Your driver didn't make it sound optional. Now he turned. He looked tired, shadows under his eyes, tension in his shoulders, like he hadn't slept since the gala. Good, Lena thought viciously, then felt guilty for thinking it. I owe you an explanation, Dante said. You owe me more than that. His mouth tightened. You're right. Lena crossed her arms. Waited. Dante moved to the bar, poured himself whiskey even though it was barely past lunch. Didn't offer her one. The call I got that night, he started. It was about a situation I'd been managing. A business associate who'd been making threats. Vincent informed me he'd shown up at the gala with intentions I couldn't ignore. What kind of threats? The kind that involve people I care about getting hurt. Dante's voice was flat, controlled. I had to handle it immediately. So you sent me home without a word. I sent you somewhere safe. You could have told me that. You could have taken 30 seconds to come back to the balcony and explain instead of texting me through your driver like I was an appointment to cancel. Dante flinched. You're right. And then you disappeared for 4 days. No call, no message, nothing. Lena's voice cracked despite her efforts. I don't even know what I thought. That I'd done something wrong. That you'd changed your mind. That I'd been an idiot for thinking this mattered to you. It matters. He set down the glass hard enough that whiskey sloshed. Lena, you matter more than anything has in years, and that terrifies me. So you ghosted me? I was protecting you. From what? From me. From my world. From... He stopped. Started again. That associate I mentioned? He knows about you now. He saw us together at the gala, and he made it very clear that anyone close to me is a potential target. The words hit like cold water. What does that mean? It means being with me puts you in danger. Real danger. The kind that doesn't go away because I want it to. Dante's voice was rough. So I've been trying to figure out how to keep you safe while also not being able to imagine not seeing you again. Lena's anger wavered. And you came up with what? Cutting me off without explanation? I came up with sending you to Chicago. The room went very quiet. What? Lena whispered. The developer who contacted Diana, that's my associate in Chicago. I asked him to offer you the project. Dante met her eyes. It's a real job, a legitimate opportunity, but it's also 3 states away from here. From me. From anyone who might use you to get to me. Lena felt like she'd been punched. You're trying to send me away. I'm trying to keep you alive. By making decisions for me? By manipulating my career? Her voice rose. Did you think I wouldn't figure it out? That I'd just take the job and disappear and that would solve your problem? It would keep you safe. I don't need you to keep me safe. I need you to be honest with me. She was shouting now, past caring. You told me you were done calculating risk every time you cared about something. You said with me it could be different. Was that a lie? No. Dante crossed to her, stopped just out of reach. Lena, everything I said was true. But that was before I fully understood what being with me would cost you. Shouldn't I get to decide what I'm willing to pay? Not when the price might be your life. So what? You just make the choice for me. Ship me off to Chicago and tell yourself it's for my own good? If that's what keeps you breathing, yes. Lena laughed, sharp and bitter. You're a coward. Dante's jaw clenched. Maybe. You are. You'd rather push me away than risk actually being with someone, than risk them seeing all of you and choosing to stay anyway. You don't understand. Then explain it to me. Lena's voice broke. Tell me what happened that made you so convinced everyone you care about dies or leaves. Because I'm standing right here and I'm not running, and you're the one trying to send me away. Dante turned back to the window, silent. Lena waited, gave him the space to choose honesty or walls. Finally, he spoke. Her name was Elena. The name landed soft, careful. She was my mother's housekeeper's daughter. We grew up together. She was the first person who didn't care that I was a Moretti, who saw me instead of the name. His voice was distant, remembering. When my father died and everything went to hell, she stood by me, told me she didn't care about the danger, that we'd face it together. Lena's chest tightened. She already knew how this story ended. I believed her, Dante continued. I let her in, let her see everything. And for a while it was good. I thought maybe I could have both, the empire and someone to share it with. What happened? My father's enemies came for me. They knew the best way to hurt me wasn't to attack directly. It was to take someone I loved. his hands fisted on the windowsill. They grabbed her outside her apartment, held her for 3 days, made sure I knew exactly what they were doing to her. Lena's hand went to her mouth. I got her back, Dante said flatly. Paid the ransom, eliminated everyone involved, but she was broken. What they did to her, she couldn't look at me without seeing the reason it happened. She left the city 6 months later. I haven't spoken to her since. Dante. She was 19 years old, she had nothing to do with my world, my choices, my father's sins, and they destroyed her to make a point. He finally turned around, and his eyes were devastated. So when I tell you I'm trying to protect you, I mean it. I can't watch that happen again. I won't. Lena crossed the space between them, took his face in her hands. I'm not her. I know. And you're not 17 anymore. You have power now, resources. You're not helpless. It doesn't matter. The threat is always there. Anyone close to me is vulnerable. Then we're careful. We're smart about it. Her thumbs traced his cheekbones. But you don't get to make my choices for me. If I want to stay, if I want to risk it, that's mine to decide. Lena, do you want me to go to Chicago? No. The word came out strangled. But I think you should. That's not what I asked. Do you want me to leave? Dante closed his eyes. No. Then stop trying to send me away. She pressed closer. I know what I'm risking. I'm not naive, but I'm also not going to run because you're scared. I'm not scared. You're terrified, and that's okay. But don't punish me for it. He opened his eyes. The gray was storm dark. If something happens to you, then we'll deal with it, together. Lena's voice was steady. Sure. But I'm not going anywhere unless you tell me you don't want this, that I don't matter enough to fight for. You matter more than anything. Then fight for this. For us. The tension in his shoulders finally broke. He pulled her close, buried his face in her hair. I don't know how to do this without being terrified. You figure it out as you go, same as everything else. They stood like that for a long moment. Lena felt his heartbeat against her cheek, too fast, unsteady. I'm sorry, Dante said quietly, for shutting you out, for trying to make your decisions, for being an idiot. You are an idiot. I know. But you're my idiot. If you'll stop trying to send me to Chicago. His laugh was shaky. I'll call off the job offer. Good. Lena pulled back enough to see his face. And next time something dangerous happens, you tell me. You don't protect me by lying or disappearing. You trust me enough to handle the truth. Even if the truth is ugly? Especially then. Dante kissed her. Desperate. Grateful. Like she'd just pulled him back from an edge he'd been too close to falling over. When they broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. I'm still going to worry. I know, but we're going to work on the difference between worry and control. That sounds like therapy talk. Maybe you need therapy. Probably. He smiled slightly. Will you come with me? To therapy? To dinner, tonight, tomorrow, as many nights as you'll give me. Lena pretended to consider. I might be busy. Lena. Fine. But you're buying. Always. They left the suite together. Took the elevator down in comfortable silence, hands linked. When they reached the lobby, Dante pulled her aside. There's something else I need to tell you. Lena's stomach dropped. What? The resort project, the one I've been developing upstate. It's having issues. Foundation problems, permit delays. I need to go up there next week to handle it personally. Okay. I want you to come with me. She blinked. To a construction site? To the resort. It's on a lake. Beautiful location. The main building needs interior design work eventually. I want your opinion on the space. He hesitated. And I don't want to be away from you for 3 days. That's very demanding. I know. You can say no. Lena thought about it. A weekend away. Alone with Dante. Away from the city, the pressure, the eyes watching. When do we leave? His smile was sunlight breaking through clouds. Friday morning. The rest of the week passed in a blur of work and anticipation. Diana was understanding about Lena turning down the Chicago job. Someone else from the firm would take the meeting instead. Lena focused on smaller projects, building her portfolio, fielding calls from potential clients who'd seen the gala photos. She and Dante texted constantly, but carefully. No more disappearing acts, no more assumptions. When Dante had to cancel dinner Wednesday because of a board meeting that ran late, he called her himself to explain and suggested breakfast Thursday instead. They were learning, slowly, imperfectly. Friday morning, Dante picked her up at 6. The drive upstate took 3 hours through increasingly rural landscape, cities giving way to small towns and then to forest. They talked about everything and nothing, books, music, the ridiculous action movies Dante loved. "I still think you have terrible taste," Lena said. "I think you're a snob who can't appreciate pure entertainment." They blew up a helicopter with a motorcycle. A motorcycle. Exactly. Peak cinema. She threw a piece of the muffin she'd been eating at him. He caught it without looking away from the road. The resort sat on the edge of a massive lake, surrounded by pine forest. The main building was half finished, construction equipment scattered around like abandoned toys. But even incomplete, Lena could see the potential. Sprawling stone and glass structure, huge windows facing the water. "It's beautiful," she said. "It will be, once we solve the foundation issues and the county stops changing their requirements every 3 weeks. Dante parked near a smaller building set back from the main construction. "That's the guest house, where we're staying." The guest house was modest compared to the main resort, but still elegant. 2 bedrooms, open kitchen and living area, wraparound porch with lake views. Someone had stocked the fridge with groceries. "Vincent's work," Dante explained. "He's efficient. He's thorough." Lena explored the space, already mentally cataloging design elements she liked. "This is nice. We can stay here while I meet with the contractors. You can look around, sketch ideas, or just relax, whatever you want." What she wanted was to stop pretending this was just a professional trip. Lena crossed to where Dante stood unpacking groceries and kissed him, slow, deliberate. "Hi," she said when they broke apart. "Hi yourself." His hand settled on her hips. "What was that for?" "For bringing me here. For trusting me enough to let me in." "I'm working on it." "I know." She kissed him again. "Keep working." They spent the afternoon together, Dante reviewing plans with his site manager while Lena sketched the main building's interior, imagining how to make the space feel warm despite its size. When the contractors left around 5, they walked down to the lake. The water was dark glass, reflecting pine trees and sky. No boats, no people. Just silence and the occasional call of a bird Lena couldn't name. "This is where I come when the city gets too loud," Dante said. "It's the only place I can hear myself think." "I can see why." Lena picked up a smooth stone, turned it over in her palm. "It's peaceful." "I almost didn't buy it. Thought it was too far from everything that mattered." "What changed your mind?" "I realized distance from the chaos might be exactly what I needed." He glanced at her. "Somewhere I could be someone other than Dante Moretti, empire builder and target." "Who are you here?" "I'm still figuring that out." They stayed until the sun started to set, painting the lake in shades of orange and pink. When the temperature dropped, they headed back to the guest house. Dante cooked, pasta with fresh vegetables, simple but good, while Lena opened wine. They ate on the porch, wrapped in blankets against the November chill, talking about the resort's potential. Lena suggested making each room feel distinct, using local artists for custom pieces. Dante listened, asked questions, made notes. "You're good at this," he said, "seeing what a place could be. It's easier when the bones are right. This place has good bones." "So do you," Lena laughed. Was that a compliment or a construction metaphor? "Both." They cleaned up together, moving around the small kitchen in comfortable rhythm. When the dishes were done, Dante pulled her close. "Thank you for coming with me," he said. "Thank you for asking. Lena," his voice was serious now, "I need to tell you something." Her stomach tightened. "Okay." "That situation I mentioned, the associate making threats. I eliminated the problem." "Eliminated how?" "Permanently." He held her gaze. "I want you to understand what that means, what I'm capable of when someone threatens what's mine." Lena's heart was pounding. This was the moment, the place where she could be horrified, could pull away, could see him as the dangerous man everyone warned her about. Instead, she said, "Did he deserve it?" Dante's eyes widened slightly. Whatever he'd expected, it wasn't that. He'd hurt people before. Would have hurt more, including you. His voice was careful. So yes, I believe he deserved it. Then I'm not going to judge you for protecting yourself, for protecting me. You should be afraid of me. I'm not. She touched his face. You want to know what I am? Grateful. Because you trusted me enough to tell me the truth instead of hiding it. Because you're not pretending to be someone you're not. Lena. I know who you are, Dante. I've known since that first night. And I'm choosing this anyway. Choosing you. He kissed her then, hard and desperate, and Lena felt something shift between them. A door opening, a wall coming down. When he pulled back, his eyes were bright. I don't deserve you. Probably not, but you're stuck with me anyway. They moved to the couch, tangled together under a blanket, watching the fire Dante had built in the stone fireplace. The silence was comfortable. Safe. Tell me about your mother, Lena said quietly. The real story, not the version you tell at business dinners. Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then, she was beautiful and sad. She married my father for the wrong reasons: money, status, escape from her own family. And she spent 20 years regretting it. Did she love you? In her way. But she loved escape more. Wine first, then pills, then whatever would make the reality of her choices disappear. His voice was flat, distant. She died when I was 15. Overdose. My father called it an accident. I knew better. Lena's hand found his, squeezed. I used to think if I'd been enough, if I'd been a better son, a less complicated child, she would have stayed, would have fought harder. Dante's jaw tightened. Took me years to understand that her pain had nothing to do with me, that I couldn't have fixed her any more than she could fix herself. I'm sorry. Don't be. She taught me something important. What? That love isn't enough if you don't love yourself first. That you can't build a life with someone who's running from their own. Lena shifted to face him. Is that what you think I'm doing? Running? No, you're the opposite. You face things head on even when it scares you. His hand traced her cheek. It's terrifying and beautiful and everything I didn't know I needed. You're getting sentimental in your old age. I'm 34. Ancient. He pulled her closer, laughing. Keep talking. See what happens. Is that a threat? It's a promise. They stayed like that until the fire burned low and the night pressed close against the windows. Eventually, Dante carried her to bed. His bed, not the guest room. And they fell asleep tangled together, her head on his chest, his arm around her waist. Lena woke sometime in the middle of the night to find Dante awake, watching her. Can't sleep? She whispered. Didn't want to miss this. Miss what? You. Here. Real. She kissed him softly. I'm not going anywhere. Promise? Promise. He held her tighter, and Lena felt the last of his walls crumble. Whatever happened next, whatever threats or complications or dangers his world held, they'd face it together. In the morning, they'd go back to reality. But for now, in this quiet place far from everything, they had each other. And that was enough. Morning came too soon, cold light filtering through the curtains. Lena woke wrapped around Dante like she'd been doing it for years instead of hours. His breathing was steady, one hand still resting on her hip even in sleep. She studied his face in the early light, the sharp features that could turn cold as winter were softer now. Younger. Like the weight he carried had lifted temporarily. His eyes opened, caught her watching. Creepy, he murmured, voice rough with sleep. You were watching me last night. That's different. How? I'm allowed. You're beautiful when you sleep. And you're a liar when you wake up. But she was smiling. They stayed in bed longer than they should have, talking in low voices about nothing important. Dante's phone buzzed repeatedly on the nightstand. He ignored it until the 5th call. I have to take this, he said, rolling away reluctantly. Contractors. Lena watched him pace the bedroom in just his pants, barking instructions in Italian. She understood maybe 3 words, but the tone was universal. Fix it now or find new employment. When he hung up, his expression was dark. Problem? She asked. The permits came through, but now the county's demanding additional environmental surveys. Another 3-week delay minimum. He scrubbed a hand through his hair. This project has been nothing but obstacles. Is it worth it? All the headaches? Dante looked out the window at the lake, silent for a moment. I bought this place 2 years ago. Everyone told me it was too remote, too complicated, but I kept thinking about having somewhere that was mine. Not my father's legacy or the family business, just mine. So yes, Lena said quietly. It's worth it. Yeah. He turned back to her. You hungry? I make decent pancakes. They spent the morning in domestic simplicity that felt surreal given everything else. Dante did make decent pancakes. Lena cleaned up while he fielded more calls. Around noon, they drove to the main building so Dante could meet with the site manager. Lena wandered through the skeleton of the resort, imagining it finished. The bones were magnificent, soaring ceilings, massive windows, natural stone that would age beautifully. She took photos, made notes, sketched quick ideas in her notebook. She was so absorbed she didn't hear Dante approach until he spoke. What are you thinking? She turned. He'd shed his jacket, rolled up his sleeves. There was something about seeing him like this, hands-on, engaged with the work, that made her chest tight. I'm thinking you could make this lobby feel like a forest. Bring the outside in. Natural materials, living walls, light that changes with the seasons. She showed him her sketch. People should walk in and feel like they've entered somewhere wild but safe. Dante studied the drawing. How much would that cost? A lot, but it would be worth it. This place shouldn't try to dominate nature. It should complement it. You're right. He handed back the notebook. When this opens, I want you to design it. Not Diana's firm. You. Your own contract. Lena's heart jumped. Dante, I'm serious. You're ready, and I trust your vision more than anyone's. That's a huge project. So, hire help. Build a team. I'll front the capital if you need it. His eyes were steady. Sure. I'm not offering because we're together. I'm offering because you're the best person for this. She wanted to argue, to point out all the ways it could complicate things. But looking at his face, she knew he meant it. This wasn't nepotism or favoritism, it was belief. Okay, she said, but I want a real contract, market rates, no special treatment. Deal. He smiled, though I reserve the right to be a demanding client. You're already a demanding client. Then nothing changes. They spent another hour walking the property. Dante showed her the planned cabin sites, the future spa location, the trail system that would wind through the forest. His enthusiasm was contagious, and Lena found herself caught up in it, seeing the vision taking shape. By late afternoon, dark clouds had rolled in, turning the sky steel gray. Thunder rumbled in the distance. We should head back, Dante said, eyeing the weather. They made it to the guest house just as the first drops hit. Within minutes, it was a downpour. Sheets of rain hammering the roof, wind rattling the windows. The temperature dropped fast. Dante built another fire while Lena made coffee. They settled on the couch, watching the storm turn the lake choppy and wild. I love this, Lena said. Being somewhere the weather actually matters. City kid? Born and raised. My mom used to take me to Central Park during thunderstorms. Said it was the only time the city felt honest. Honest how? Like it stopped pretending to be civilized and just was what it was. Loud and messy and real. She sipped her coffee. I think that's why I liked her art. She painted the city the way it felt, not the way it looked. Do you have any of her paintings? A few. Most got sold after she died to pay medical bills. But I kept 3 small ones. Lena's throat tightened. Sometimes I look at them and remember what it felt like to see the world through her eyes, before everything got complicated. Dante pulled her closer. What would she think of me? Honestly? She'd probably say you were too brooding and needed better taste in movies. He laughed. Harsh. She didn't pull punches, but she'd also see past the walls. She was good at that, finding the soft parts people tried to hide. Lena looked up at him. She would have liked you, eventually. High praise. The highest I can give. Thunder cracked overhead, close enough to rattle the windows. The lights flickered once, twice, then died. Great, Dante muttered. He grabbed his phone, used the flashlight to navigate to a closet, returned with candles and matches. Soon the room was full of soft, wavering light. The fire crackled. Outside, the storm raged. This feels like a horror movie setup, Lena observed. If a masked killer shows up, I'm pushing you toward him first. Wow. Chivalry is dead. I never claimed to be chivalrous. What do you claim to be? Dante was quiet, considering. Pragmatic. Protective of what's mine, too stubborn for my own good. You forgot brutally honest and emotionally constipated. I'm working on that second one. I've noticed. Lena shifted to face him. Can I ask you something? Always. That night at the gala, when Richard said those things about me, you looked like you wanted to kill him. I did. But you didn't. You just threatened his business interests. Because you were watching. I didn't want you to see that side of me. Dante's jaw tightened. But make no mistake, if he touched you, if he'd done anything more than talk, I wouldn't have stopped at threats. The certainty in his voice should have scared her. Instead, it made her feel safe in a way she'd never experienced. I need you to understand something, Lena said carefully. I'm not naive. I know who you are, what you're capable of, and I'm not asking you to be someone you're not. But I need the truth. Always. Even when it's ugly. What if the truth makes you leave? Then that's my choice to make, but lies, secrets, those will definitely make me leave. Dante stared into the fire. My father built his empire on intimidation and violence. He believed fear was the only currency that mattered, and for a long time I thought he was right. That's how I survived when he died, being more ruthless than anyone expected. But you don't believe that anymore. I don't know what I believe, except that the older I get, the more the violence feels empty, like winning fights that don't matter. He looked at her. And then you showed up drunk in my suite, and for the first time in years I felt something other than anger or calculation. I felt curious. About you, about what it might be like to be around someone who saw me as human instead of a threat. Lena's heart ached. You are human. Flawed and complicated and sometimes infuriating, but human. Sometimes I forget that. Then I'll remind you. She kissed him, slow and deep, until the storm outside became background noise. They made love on the couch by firelight, unhurried and intense, mapping each other's bodies like territory worth claiming. Afterward, wrapped in blankets, Dante traced patterns on her shoulder. I have to go back to the city tomorrow, he said. Board meeting Monday I can't miss. Okay, come with me. Stay at my place. Lena raised an eyebrow. Your place? I've never even seen your apartment. Penthouse, 20 floors above the suite you redesigned. He smiled slightly. I'm not home much. It's mostly just a place to sleep. Sounds lonely. It has been. His hand cupped her face. I'd like it to be less lonely. Is this your way of asking me to spend more nights with you? It's my way of asking you to consider making some of those nights permanent. Eventually, when you're ready. The words hung between them, weighted with implications neither was quite ready to name. I have a lease until March, Lena said carefully. I'm aware. I'm not asking you to move in tomorrow, just thinking about futures that include more than stolen weekends. Plural futures? I'm an optimist, Lena laughed. You're the least optimistic person I've ever met. I'm optimistic about you, about this, about... She kissed him again, softer this time. Ask me again in a few months, when we've made it through a real fight and at least one major crisis. Deal. They stayed up late talking, the storm slowly passing overhead. Dante told her about the early days after his father died, the allies who became enemies, the enemies who became allies. Lena shared stories about design school, the professors who'd believed in her, the ones who'd tried to break her. By the time they fell asleep, the rain had stopped and the sky was clearing. Lena's last thought before drifting off was that she'd never felt more seen, more known, more terrifyingly certain that this mattered. Sunday morning, they packed up and drove back to the city. The weekend felt like a bubble that would pop the moment they hit Manhattan traffic. But when they crossed into the Bronx and the skyline appeared on the horizon, Dante reached over and took her hand. Thank you for coming with me, he said. Thank you for trusting me enough to ask. He dropped her at Jess's apartment with a promise to call later. Lena floated inside, still wearing yesterday's clothes, her hair a mess. Jessa took one look and grinned. You had sex in the woods. We were in a guest house. Same energy. Tell me everything. Lena told her most of it over coffee, the storm, the conversations, Dante's offer to design the resort. She left out the darkest confessions, the admissions about violence and fear. Those felt too raw, too private. He's falling for you, Jessa said when she finished. We're taking it slow. Lena, the man asked you to eventually move into his penthouse. That's not slow. That's him trying not to scare you by asking you to marry him next week. He did not ask me to marry him? Not yet, but he's thinking about it. I guarantee it. Lena's phone buzzed. A text from Dante. Dinner tomorrow? I'll cook. She showed Jessa, who raised an eyebrow. He cooks for you. You're doomed. I'm not doomed. You're completely doomed. You're going to end up married to a mob boss with a penthouse and a resort upstate and probably 3 kids with his ridiculous cheekbones. You're insane. I'm right. Maybe she was. But Lena wasn't ready to think that far ahead. One day at a time, one dinner at a time. The next few weeks settled into a rhythm. Lena threw herself into work. The resort contract was official, and she started assembling a team, interviewing potential assistants, meeting with suppliers. Diana was supportive, even offering to mentor her through the transition to independent contracting. You're ready for this, Diana said over lunch. I've been doing this 30 years, and I've rarely seen someone with your instincts. I'm terrified I'll screw it up. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. Just don't let it paralyze you. Nights, Lena spent with Dante. Sometimes at his penthouse, which was exactly as minimalist and impersonal as she'd expected. Sometimes at Jessa's, where Dante looked hilariously out of place on the worn couch eating takeout. Your friend hates me, Dante observed one night after Jessa had retreated to her room. She doesn't hate you, she's protective. She glares at me. She glares at everyone. It's her resting face. But Jessa was slowly warming up. Lena caught her laughing at one of Dante's dry comments about city politics. Saw her nod approvingly when he did the dishes without being asked. Okay, Jessa admitted later. He's not terrible. High praise. Don't let it go to your head, or his. In early December, Dante had to fly to Miami for business. He asked Lena to come, but she had client meetings she couldn't reschedule. He left on a Wednesday, promising to be back by Friday. Thursday night, Lena's phone rang at 11. Dante's name on the screen. Hey, she answered. How's Miami? Silence. Then, I need you to do something for me. His voice was wrong, too controlled. What's wrong? Nothing. Everything's fine. But I need you to go to Vincent's apartment tomorrow morning. He'll drive you to a location I'm texting you right now. Stay there until I come get you. Lena's stomach dropped. Dante, you're scaring me. I'm being careful. There's a situation here that might have implications back home. I'm handling it, but until I do, I need you somewhere safe. What kind of situation? The kind I can't discuss on the phone. Please, Lena, trust me. She wanted to argue, demand answers, but the edge in his voice stopped her. Okay, I'll go to Vincent's. Thank you. He exhaled shakily. I'll explain everything when I'm back, I promise. Dante? I love you. The words hit like lightning. He'd never said them before. What? She whispered. I love you, and I need you safe, so please do this. The line went dead. Lena stared at her phone, heart hammering. He loved her. He'd said it like a confession and a goodbye in the same breath. She texted back, I'll go. But you better come back in one piece, or I'll kill you myself. The response was immediate. Deal. Then another message with an address in Westchester, followed by, Vincent will pick you up at 7 a.m., pack for 3 days. Lena barely slept. She threw clothes in a bag, texted Jessa that she'd be gone for a few days, and was ready when Vincent arrived at 7 sharp. He didn't explain anything, just drove north in silence, occasionally checking his mirrors like he expected to be followed. The safe house was a cottage on a private estate, surrounded by woods, beautiful and isolated. Mr. Moretti will call when it's clear to return, Vincent said, handing her a phone. Don't use your regular cell. Don't contact anyone except him on this line. Vincent, what's happening? His expression softened slightly. He's protecting you. That's all you need to know. Then he was gone, and Lena was alone in a strange house with no answers and a burner phone. She lasted 4 hours before the anxiety became unbearable. The burner phone rang at 2. Are you okay? Dante asked immediately. I'm fine. Bored and terrified, but fine. Are you okay? I'm handling it. He sounded exhausted. I'm sorry for scaring you. Then explain what's happening. Dante was quiet for a long moment. One of my father's old enemies resurfaced. He's been making moves in Miami, trying to rebuild power. I came down here to negotiate a truce. It didn't go well. How not well? He threatened to come after everyone close to me if I didn't back off some territory disputes. Mentioned you by name. Lena's blood went cold. How does he know about me? Photos from the gala got published in a society column. He's been watching. Dante's voice hardened, but he won't be watching anymore. What did you do? What I had to keep you safe. Lena closed her eyes. She didn't ask for details, didn't want to know exactly how permanent Dante's solutions were. When can I come home? She asked instead. Tomorrow. I'll pick you up myself. I miss you. I miss you too. His voice softened, and I meant what I said last night. I know. Her throat was tight. I love you too. In case that wasn't clear. She heard him exhale. It's clear now. They talked for another hour, about nothing and everything. Dante told her about Miami's humidity, the terrible coffee at his hotel. Lena described the cottage, the view of winter bare trees through the windows. When they finally hung up, Lena felt steadier. Whatever this life with Dante meant, the danger, the complications, the constantly looking over their shoulders, she was choosing it, choosing him. Dante arrived the next afternoon driving himself, no Vincent in sight. He looked exhausted, shadows under his eyes, tension in every line of his body. Lena met him at the door. Didn't ask questions, just pulled him inside and held him while he shook with something that might have been relief or delayed fear. I'm okay, he said into her hair. We're okay. I know. The threat's gone. Permanently. Okay. You're not going to ask what I did? No. Lena pulled back to look at him. Because I trust that you did what you needed to, and because I meant what I said, I love you. All of you. Even the parts that scare me. Dante's eyes were bright. How did I get this lucky? You stumbled into the wrong room and found someone too stubborn to run. Best mistake I ever made. They drove back to the city as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Dante kept one hand on her thigh the whole drive, like he needed the physical reassurance she was real. At his penthouse, he finally relaxed. They ordered food, watched a terrible action movie Dante loved, fell asleep tangled together on his enormous bed. In the middle of the night, Lena woke to find him awake again, watching her. You do this a lot, she murmured. I like making sure you're real. I'm real, and I'm not going anywhere. Promise? I already did. At the lake, remember? Say it again. I'm not going anywhere, Dante. You're stuck with me. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her mouth. Good. Because I'm planning a future with you in it, and it would really inconvenience me if you left. Romantic. I'm working on it. Lena laughed, but her chest felt full, heavy with something that might have been fear or might have been hope. Probably both. Either way, she was in too deep to turn back now. The weeks after Miami were different, quieter in some ways, louder in others. Dante didn't disappear anymore, didn't hide behind walls or carefully controlled distance. He was just there, present in a way that felt both ordinary and miraculous. They fell into rhythms. Coffee together in the mornings when Lena stayed over, which was most nights now. Dante working from home more often, his office door open so they could talk between meetings. Lena spreading design samples across his dining table, asking his opinion on fabrics and finishes. I have no idea what the difference is between eggshell and ivory, Dante said one evening, squinting at two paint chips that looked identical. One has warm undertones, one has cool. They're both white. They're not white. They're neutral. That's the same thing. Lena threw a pillow at him. He caught it without looking up from his laptop. But underneath the domestic comfort, Lena could feel something building. A tension that had nothing to do with them and everything to do with the world Dante couldn't fully leave behind. It came to a head 3 days before Christmas. Lena was at Dante's penthouse wrapping gifts when Vincent arrived unannounced. The look on his face made her stomach drop. Where's Dante? He asked. Conference call in his office. What's wrong? Vincent didn't answer, just headed straight for Dante's office and knocked once before entering. Lena followed, ignoring Vincent's warning look. Dante was at his desk, phone pressed to his ear. He glanced up, saw their faces, and cut off whoever he was talking to mid-sentence. "I'll call you back." "We have a problem," Vincent said. "Richard Castellano just filed a lawsuit against Moretti Holdings. He's alleging predatory business practices, claiming you threatened him into backing out of the Tribeca deal." Lena's heart stopped. Richard. The man from the gala who'd looked at her like she was something to consume. Dante's expression went cold. "When did this happen?" "Papers were filed this morning. His lawyers already leaked it to the press. You're going to have reporters crawling all over this by tonight. Let them crawl. The allegations are bullshit. That's not the problem." Vincent's jaw tightened. "He's also filed a restraining order. Claims you made verbal threats against his life at a charity event in November. The gala." Lena remembered Dante's quiet fury, the way he'd positioned himself between her and Richard. "He's retaliating," she said quietly. "Because you protected me." Dante looked at her, and something in his eyes confirmed it. "This isn't your fault, but it's because of me. It's because Richard's a coward who can't handle losing." Dante stood. "Vincent, get Marcus on the phone. I want our legal team all over this." "Already done. But Dante..." Vincent hesitated. "There's more. He's claiming the threats were witnessed by multiple people. He's going to subpoena guest lists, try to find anyone who will corroborate." "No one will." "Maybe not willingly, but under oath. People get nervous." Lena's mind was racing. She'd been there. She'd seen the confrontation. If Richard's lawyers found out she was Dante's girlfriend, they'd twist it. Make it look like Dante was violent, possessive, dangerous, which he was, but not the way they'd paint it. "What do we do?" she asked. Dante's eyes met hers. "You do nothing. This is my problem. It's our problem if they drag me into it." "They won't. I'll make sure of that." But Lena could see the calculation in his eyes. He was already planning how to protect her, which likely meant distancing her from the situation entirely. "Don't," she said firmly. "Don't even think about pushing me away again." "Lena, no, we're past that. You said we face things together." Vincent cleared his throat. "I'll give you 2 a minute." He left, closing the door behind him. Dante crossed to her, his hands settling on her shoulders. "If they connect you to this, it becomes ammunition. Richard will use you to paint me as unstable. So we get ahead of it. We tell the truth. The truth is that I did threaten him. I told him I'd destroy his business if he spoke to you that way again." Dante's voice was tight. "That's not a great look in court. The truth is also that he sexually harassed me and you defended me. That's not a crime. In my world, everything can be made to look like a crime if the right lawyer spins it." Lena stepped back, needing space to think. "What does your legal team say?" "That we settle quietly, pay Richard off to make it go away." "And you don't want to do that." "I don't reward men who threaten what's mine." There it was again. That possessive edge that should have bothered her, but instead made her feel safe. Claimed. "Then we fight it," Lena said. "But we do it smart, not emotional." Dante's laugh was sharp. "I don't know how to do this without emotion, not when it involves you." "Then I'll be the rational one, for both of us." He stared at her for a long moment, then pulled her close, pressing his face into her hair. "How are you not running?" "Because I'm stubborn, and because I love you." She pulled back to meet his eyes. "And because the wrong room led me to exactly the right person, and I'm not letting some asshole with a vendetta take that away." Dante kissed her, hard, desperate. "I don't deserve you." "Probably not. But here we are." The lawsuit became public knowledge by that evening, exactly as Vincent predicted. Lena's phone exploded with messages from friends, colleagues, people she barely knew, asking if she'd heard about Dante Moretti's legal troubles. She ignored most of them, called Diana instead. "I saw the news," Diana said carefully. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. It's complicated, but we're handling it." "Lena, I need to ask, is any of this going to impact the resort project?" Lena's chest tightened. She'd been so focused on Dante, she hadn't considered the professional fallout. "I don't know." "Why?" "Because I have investors asking questions, wondering if being associated with Moretti Holdings is a liability right now." Diana sighed. "I'm not saying I believe the allegations, but perception matters in this business. Are you asking me to step away from the project? I'm asking if you've thought about how this affects your career. You're just starting out. Getting tangled up in Dante's legal issues could hurt you. The words landed like a punch, because Diana was right. This could destroy her reputation before she'd even built one. I'll think about it, Lena said quietly. After she hung up, she sat on Dante's couch staring at nothing. The smart move was obvious. Distance herself professionally. Keep the relationship private until the lawsuit resolved. Protect her career. But doing that felt like betraying him, like proving that when things got hard, she'd choose safety over loyalty. Dante found her there an hour later, still staring into space. Vincent told me Diana called, he said, sitting beside her. Word travels fast in your organization. He worries. About both of us. Dante took her hand. What did she say? Lena told him, watched his expression shudder. She's right, he said when she finished. You should step back, at least publicly. I don't want to. Lena, this is your career, your future. I won't let my mess destroy that. It's not your mess. It's Richard being vindictive. Doesn't matter whose fault it is. The damage is the same. He squeezed her hand. Take the safe path. I'll understand. And that was the problem. He would understand. Would probably expect it. Because in his experience, people left when things got dangerous. Lena thought about her mother, about the paintings she'd sold to pay bills, the ones she'd kept because they mattered more than money. About the lesson in those choices, that some things were worth protecting even when it cost you. No, she said firmly. Dante blinked. No, I'm not stepping back. Not from the project, not from you, not from any of this. She turned to face him fully. You want to know why? Because I'm tired of making safe choices that leave me empty. Marcus was safe. My job at Diana's firm was safe. And none of it made me happy. This could ruin you. Or it could prove I'm strong enough to build something that matters. With someone who matters. She touched his face. I'm not naive. I know this is hard. But I'd rather fight for something real than play it safe and regret it. Dante's eyes were bright. You're insane. Probably, but I'm your insane. He kissed her, slow and thorough and full of something that felt like gratitude and desperation mixed together. Okay, he said against her mouth. We fight together. The legal battle was brutal. Richard's lawyers were aggressive, filing motion after motion, requesting documents, scheduling depositions. Dante's team countered hard, digging into Richard's business practices, finding evidence of actual predatory behavior. Lena gave her deposition in early January, sat in a sterile conference room while Richard's lawyer tried to make her relationship with Dante sound sordid and transactional. Isn't it true, Ms. Hart, that Mr. Moretti hired you for a lucrative design contract shortly after you began a romantic relationship? He hired me before we were involved, Lena said evenly, based on my portfolio and qualifications. How convenient. And the resort project? Another lucrative contract with your boyfriend's company? A contract I earned. You can review my designs and credentials if you'd like to verify my competence. The lawyer smiled, cold. I'm not questioning your competence. I'm questioning your judgment. Dating a man with known ties to organized crime, alleged ties, Dante's lawyer interjected, and irrelevant to this case. But the damage was done. By the time Lena left the deposition, she felt scraped raw. Dante was waiting in the hallway, Vincent beside him. How bad? Dante asked. They're trying to make me look like a gold digger sleeping her way to success. His jaw clenched. I'll destroy him. No, you'll let your lawyers handle it legally. Lena grabbed his arm. Promise me. No more threats, no more making this worse. He called you a gold digger. He called me a lot of things. I don't care. I know the truth. Dante looked like he wanted to argue, but he nodded. Okay, legal channels only. The case dragged through February. Lena threw herself into work, partly as distraction, partly to prove she deserved every opportunity she'd been given. The resort designs were coming together beautifully. She'd hired 2 assistants, both talented and hungry. Diana had stopped asking about the lawsuit, which Lena took as tacit approval to continue. In early March, Dante's lawyers found the break they needed. Evidence that Richard had been embezzling from his own company, using shell corporations to hide assets. Nothing to do with the lawsuit, but enough to shift leverage. He'll drop the case, Dante's lead attorney predicted. Once we threaten to expose this, he'll settle quietly. She was right. 2 days later, Richard's lawyers filed to dismiss. No admission of wrongdoing from either side. Just a quiet ending to a loud battle. Dante called Lena from his lawyer's office. It's over. Really over. Really over. Richard's backing off everything. The lawsuit, the restraining order, all of it. Lena sat down hard on her apartment floor. She'd been packing, her lease was ending in 2 weeks, and she'd been avoiding thinking about where she'd go next. Are you okay? Dante asked. I'm fine, just relieved. Me too. He paused. Where are you? My apartment? Packing? I'm coming over. He showed up 30 minutes later with champagne and Thai food. They ate on her floor surrounded by boxes, toasting the end of the nightmare. I have a question, Dante said as they finished the pad Thai. Okay. Your lease ends in 2 weeks. It does. And you've been avoiding talking about where you're going next. Lena set down her container. I've been busy. You've been avoiding. He shifted to face her. Move in with me. Her heart jumped. Dante, I know we said we'd wait, but we've been through hell together and come out the other side. I don't want to spend another night wondering where you are or if you're safe. His hand found hers. I want you in my space, making it less empty. Arguing with me about paint colors and leaving your design samples everywhere. That's very romantic. I'm working on it, he smiled. What do you say? What? Lena looked around her tiny apartment. At the boxes half packed, the life she'd been building that suddenly felt too small for who she'd become. Okay, she said. But I'm redecorating your penthouse. It looks like a hotel room. Deal. Make it a home. They sealed it with a kiss that tasted like champagne and promise. Moving in was chaotic and perfect. Lena filled Dante's sterile penthouse with color and warmth, vintage furniture mixed with modern pieces, plants in every window, art on the walls. Her mother's 3 paintings got prime placement in the living room. Dante pretended to complain about the clutter, but she caught him smiling at the breakfast table she'd insisted on, the reading nook she'd created by the windows, the way their lives tangled together in the shared space. It looks lived in, he said one evening, pulling her onto the couch beside him. That's the point. I like it. He kissed her temple. I like you here. Good, because you're stuck with me now. The resort project consumed most of April and May. Lena spent long days upstate overseeing installation, managing her team, solving the 1,000 small crises that came with a project that size. Dante visited when he could, watching her work with undisguised pride. You're incredible at this, he said one afternoon, watching her direct contractors on a complicated ceiling installation. I'm bossy at this. Same thing, in the best way. The resort opened soft in June, limited guests, mostly friends and investors getting a preview. The main lobby looked exactly as Lena had envisioned, a forest made intimate, wild beauty tamed just enough to be welcoming. The reviews were overwhelming. Design blogs called it revolutionary. Travel magazines featured it in summer roundups. Diana called to congratulate her, admitting she'd been wrong to doubt. You proved me wrong, Diana said, about being ready, about handling the pressure. I'm sorry I didn't trust you sooner. You were protecting your firm, I understand. Still, you're the real deal, Lena. I hope you know that. Lena did know. Finally. After years of doubting herself, of trying to prove she belonged, she'd built something that spoke for itself. In July, Dante surprised her with a weekend trip. Wouldn't tell her where they were going, just told her to pack light and trust him. They drove upstate, but past the resort. Higher into the mountains, to a lake Lena didn't recognize. Where are we? She asked. You'll see. He pulled up to a small cabin, weathered wood, wraparound porch, dock extending into crystalline water. It looked like something from a postcard. I bought it last month, Dante said. It needs work. A lot of work, but I thought... He stopped, started again. I thought maybe you'd help me make it ours. A place that's not about business or empire or any of that. Just us. Lena's throat was tight. You bought us a cabin? I bought us a future. One that has quiet mornings and a place to disappear to when the city gets too loud. He took her hand. What do you think? I think you're getting sentimental in your old age. I'm 35. Ancient. He pulled her close, laughing. So, you'll help me fix it up? On one condition. Name it. We put a reading chair on that porch for watching storms. Deal. They spent the weekend exploring the property, making plans, imagining futures. Dante showed her where he wanted to expand the deck, add a fire pit. Lena sketched ideas for opening up the interior, adding windows, bringing in light. On their last night, they sat on the dock watching the sun set over the water. Dante had been quiet all evening, his hand never leaving hers. I need to tell you something, he said finally. Lena's stomach tightened. Okay, that night. The night you stumbled into my room. I'd been sitting in the dark for hours before you arrived, thinking about my father, about Elena, about all the ways I'd failed people who mattered. He stared at the water. I'd actually been thinking about walking away, from the business, from the city, from everything. Dante. Then you showed up, drunk and devastated and completely, beautifully human. And something in me shifted. Like maybe I could be human too. Maybe I didn't have to be the Moretti heir or the feared businessman. Maybe I could just be someone capable of helping a stranger who needed it. Lena's eyes burned. You saved me that night too. You just didn't know it. I know it now. He turned to face her fully. You walked into the wrong room and gave me a reason to stay, to fight, to believe I could be more than my father's legacy. You are more, so much more. Dante reached into his pocket, pulled out a small box. Lena's heart stopped. I'm not good at this, he said, opening it to reveal a simple ring, vintage setting, single diamond, elegant without being ostentatious. And I'm probably doing it wrong, but I know that I want every morning to start with you, every problem to be ours together, every future I imagine has you in it. Dante, marry me, Lena. Make the wrong room permanent. She was crying. Full-on ugly crying, tears streaming down her face. That's the worst proposal I've ever heard. Is that a no? That's a yes, you idiot. Yes. He slid the ring onto her finger with shaking hands, then pulled her into his lap and kissed her while the last of the sunset painted the sky in impossible colors. I love you, he said against her mouth, even though you called my proposal the worst ever. I love you too, even though you're emotionally constipated and have terrible taste in movies. We're going to be a disaster, the best kind. They married in September in the suite where they'd met. Just close friends, Jessa, Vincent, Diana, a handful of others who mattered. The ceremony was simple. Dante cried, which shocked everyone, including himself. Lena laughed through her vows. The reception was at the resort, the space she'd designed filled with people celebrating love that had started with a mistake and become inevitable. To wrong doors and right people, Jessa toasted, grinning at them both. To second chances, Vincent added. To building something beautiful from chaos, Diana said, raising her glass. Dante pulled Lena close, his hand settling at her waist in that claiming gesture she'd come to love. To my wife, he said quietly, just for her, who saw past the walls and stayed anyway. To my husband, Lena replied, who protected a drunk stranger and somehow became my home. They kissed while their friends cheered, and Lena thought about all the moments that had led here. The betrayal that sent her to the wrong floor. The storm that kept her there. The courage it took to keep choosing each other when it would have been easier to walk away. A year later, Lena stood in the presidential suite at the Crimson Tower, studying the plaque Dante had insisted on installing by the door. It read, "The Heart Suite in elegant script, a tribute to the woman who'd transformed not just the room, but the man who owned it." You're going to make me cry again, she said, touching the letters. That's the plan. Dante wrapped his arms around her from behind. I want everyone who stays here to know that this room changed my life. It's just a room. It's the room where I found you, where I learned that wrong turns can lead to exactly where you need to be. He turned her to face him. And where I'm asking you to take one more leap with me. What kind of leap? He placed her hand on her stomach. The kind that involves tiny humans and sleepless nights and me having absolutely no idea what I'm doing. Lena's breath caught. She'd suspected for a week, but hadn't been ready to say it out loud. You know, Vincent told me you asked him to buy prenatal vitamins last week. He's terrible at keeping secrets. I'm going to kill Vincent. Don't. He's going to be the godfather. Lena laughed and cried simultaneously. We're having a baby. We're having a baby. Dante's voice was full of wonder and terror. I'm going to be terrible at this. Probably, but you'll figure it out, same as everything else. Will you help me? Always. They stood in the room where their story began, holding each other while the city sparkled outside the windows. Lena thought about her mother's paintings, about the lesson in seeing beauty in chaos, about the courage it took to stay when every instinct said, run. People talk about fate like it's this perfect thing, some grand design that makes everything make sense. But Lena had learned that life was messier than that. It was wrong rooms and bad timing and choices made from fear or desperation. It was stumbling into darkness and finding someone willing to share it with you. What mattered wasn't the mistakes. It was what you built from them. The family you chose, the love you fought for, the future you created from the wreckage of plans that fell apart. She'd walked into the wrong room looking for escape and found a home instead. Found a man who was broken in different ways but fit with her imperfections like they'd been designed for each other. Found herself in the process, the woman who could design beautiful spaces and fight for what mattered and choose love even when it was complicated. What are you thinking? Dante asked. That I'm glad I hit the wrong button that night. Me too. He kissed her forehead. Best wrong turn either of us ever made. They left the suite hand in hand, ready to face whatever came next. The baby, the resort expansion Dante was planning, the life they were building piece by imperfect piece. Because the wrong room had taught them both something essential, that sometimes getting lost is exactly how you find your way home, and that the people worth loving are the ones who see you at your worst and choose to stay anyway, building something beautiful from the broken pieces you brought together. The elevator doors closed on the Heart Suite, on the room where everything began. But the story was far from over. It was just getting started.